Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer. You know, my wife recently told me that I had every board game except one. I had no clue. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at Path of Civilization, a story of humankind from Captain Games.
We'll get back to the review in just a moment. I want to take a minute to ask you to check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson PhD, where we talk about history, books on history, military history. I even post some of my lectures for my classes on there. Please check that out. Please subscribe to that channel. And now, back to the review.
In Path of Civilization, a story of humankind from Captain Games, 1 to 5 players take on the roles of various civilizations as they attempt to grow out of the Dark Ages and prosper with wonders, leaders, new technologies, and all sorts of goodies. Now, at the beginning of the game, you're going to engage in the setup. You're going to have a market card out there, which is going to tell you each round what kinds of leaders, what numbers of leaders and wonders are going to be made available. You're also going to set up a number of challenge cards and battle cards depending on a random setup here. You're going to set those cards, they're going to be kind of vertical, you got little holders you put them in, and they are going to be kind of challenges and battles you're going to have to overcome every round. Players are going to get their own kind of civilization board in front of them, as well as a research board with kind of the 5 different tracks of civilization and markers to mark where you're at on them. You're also going to set up a philosophy board that players are going to transverse and get more goodies along the way. Now, you're also going to have a military track that you're going to use, and in the center of the play area, you're going to put kind of the technology library. You've got kind of 5 different tech card tracks that you're going to be drawing from over the course of the game. There's also going to be 5 different trays which represent different aspects of civilizations that you will be able to put action cubes into that will help you in various ways during the game. Now, essentially, you're going to start the game with 5 basic starter cards. And what you're going to do is, if you look at the bottom of each individual player board, it's going to kind of tell you exactly what you do every round. Now, every round, you're going to advance the round marker, except, of course, the first round, and then you're going to consult the market. You're going to see how many leaders and wonders you're going to make available for that round. Now, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to place 2 of your cards on the left 2 sections of the board. Now, what this means is you're going to be able to actually take whatever those actions are. For instance, you may add cubes to those various spots if it tells you you can do that, or there may be other things you can do. But you're going to go ahead and resolve those things. Next, you're going to go ahead and place your 2 other cards next to on the right side of the board, and you're going to resolve the right side of those cards, which will give you different abilities and things to do during the game. One thing you'll be gaining from these actions is actually moving your research markers up, giving you more research in certain areas of technology. You're also going to have to keep track of your population at the top of the board, and that's going to kind of limit how far you can move on that research track, as well as limit other things you can do during the game. Next, you have an evolution and purchase phase, meaning you can actually purchase wonders and leaders from their respective displays. You can go ahead and you can purchase them and add them to your area. You can also advance along the philosophy track. As you move along the philosophy track, again, that will unlock, the first player will be able to unlock a certain token, which then is placed up that everybody then can use that token, or gain that ability, rather. So that you can gain more abilities from the progression track as well. Now, in order to purchase from the philosophy or the wonders, you have to have a number of cubes in there equal to the cost of that card. So that's how you can spend those cubes in order to gain those leaders and those wonders. The same thing for moving on the philosophy progression. If you have cubes there, you can remove those to move forward a number of spaces. Now, depending on where your research and other items you have are, you can go ahead and purchase more powerful technology cards. But each time you purchase one of these more powerful technology cards, you have to get rid of one of the cards you've got. In fact, you always have 5 cards. We only pay 4 cards to your board. You plus any technology you purchase that round, kind of in the discovery section. But the card you didn't play, you just kind of tuck under the side of your board. So you're kind of losing your ability to play that specific card as the game progresses, as you're getting more powerful cards. Now, during the end of round phase, you're going to see where you are. Is there a challenge that you need to overcome, or is there a battle? If there are challenges, again, you have to see what the specific requirements for that challenge are. If you meet them, then you're going to gain some kind of a reward. If you don't, there may be some kind of penalty. Now, if you are going to war, you're looking where you are along the war track. You actually have a warrior who represents kind of the threat level. You have to beat that warrior, which is easier in the beginning. As the game goes on, you have to develop your military technology. You have to have military symbols. You have to have cubes there, because those cubes you're going to spend, they're going to move you forward a number of spaces as well. And if you are higher than the threat level, then you beat that combat challenge, that battle challenge, and again, you get certain rewards. Now, virtually every card and other actions come with an associated VP point, and some of the cards you've tucked may have VP points as well. So what you're going to do is, after the final challenge or battle, once that is resolved, you're going to consult your player board, your cards, everything you purchased that has VP on it. You're going to total all the VP, and whoever has the highest VP wins. Path of Civilization, a story of humankind. All right, so right off the bat, let me just say this game has AI art. So if you're not a fan of AI art, if that's something that you just don't want to get into, this game's probably not for you. The game itself, gameplay itself here is very interesting because, like I say, it's every round you've got just these things you're kind of ticking off at the bottom of your player aid, your player board. It tells you exactly what you're going to do. And so much of the game is simply how and where you're going to play your cards. Do you play your cards on the left side to get the left ability? Do you play it on the right side to get the right ability? What areas of the board, what trays do you want to put cubes in? What research do you want to go up on? How everything you're doing is going to affect something in the game and get you some kind of a reward, or help you in some way. But you are very much the architect of how that is going to progress. And you're building this engine with these cards that you are getting, as well as any leader cards or wonder cards you put out there that may give you some kinds of bonuses as well. Now, the game is a very unusual civilization builder. I don't think I've ever played a game and a civilization building game that was quite like this. That was just, I honestly feel like fundamentally it's a card game. It feels more than anything like a card game with a few resources, a few tracks around the board. So that in and of itself is very interesting and unique because, like I say, it feels like a board game, but it feels like a card game, but obviously there's a little bit more to it. Now, one of the highlights of the game, and one of the things I think is really cool about this game, is those challenge cards and those battle cards, which, like the battle cards, some of them take different battles from history, right? And as you're progressing, they like, you get toward the end, it's like Stalingrad and Vietnam War, whereas earlier on, you've got much earlier battles in history. So I like how they do that, but the real interesting thing here is this game has a massive deck of challenge and battle cards. So I think you could play this game, thousands of times and have all sorts of different computations with those cards. What I'm suggesting here is there's a lot of replayability when you go to those challenge rounds and battle rounds. There's a lot of replayability here. That is freaking awesome. I think that's one of the highlights of this game, is just the massive replayability you get from that. I really like that. I really like some of the choices you make in placing the cubes. How you're using the cubes and the trays. Again, this is something that I haven't really seen before done quite like this. I think that's cool. But there's just a heck of a lot of choices in this game, which is really, really fun and interesting. Now, the big issue I have with the game, and it's not even that big, is the setup. The setup, it takes a bit, and it seems like it's a game that, for what the kind of game it is, which I don't really think is very heavy. It's not a very heavy game at all. It just seems like for as much setup as there is, you would think there'd be a little more bite to it. And I'm not disrespecting the game, because the game as a game, I think, works well. But it's just for the amount of setup you're putting into it, I kind of would have expected a little more. So that's a little disappointing there. But generally, I think this is a good game. I think it's a fun game. I don't think it's going to be for everybody. And I don't just mean, I'm not just addressing the AI there, but I think it's because it is a very abstract civilization game. You know, you look at a lot of civilization games. I'm thinking Sid Meier's Civilization or Clash of Cultures, which have a board, which have units, which move, and there's a lot more dudes on a map or military aspects to those games, and even Mosaic, which is a bit more abstract, still kind of has aspects of that. But this is really abstract. This is a really abstract civilization builder. I liked it. I thought it was fun. But I got to be honest, I don't know that I'm going to keep this one in my collection. I'm probably going to end up donating it or giving it to a friend. I liked the game. I had a lot of fun with it, but I just don't know that this is the kind of game I want to keep going back to. And part of that is because the setup's bigger than it needs to be. It's more involved than it needs to be. That having said, you've got a lot of great replayability here, I think, with the different cards and the different challenges and battles. And I've only played this as a 2-player. I think I'd play it with a 3. I don't know I'd want to play it much more than a 3, just because I think there would be a lot of AP. That's just my impression. But I like this game. I didn't love it. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say try it before you buy it. I think some people will really enjoy this game. It's a good game. I liked it. If somebody asked me to play it, I'd play it. But I just don't think it's one I'm going to keep around. Thank you once again for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we ask you to please leave a comment for us on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, or on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We'd ask you to please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. I'd also ask you to check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson PhD, where we talk about military history and books on history, fun things like that. I'd ask you to please subscribe to that channel. That would mean a lot to me. Please leave a thumb for this video on Board Game Geek, and if you do really appreciate the content we bring you on this channel, I'd humbly ask you to click on the Super Thanks button and leave a tip. You know, I had a guy the other day who asked me if I was ignorant or just apathetic. I told him, I don't know and I don't care. Please somebody help me on my feet again, and I don't know where I'm going and I don't know where I've been. Please somebody help me on the solid ground. It's a long time and I'll be dying. Once a year I wind up in the band.
Listen, if you like this review, subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave a comment.
And if you don't like it, then keep your mouth shut.